Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're stepping into something really unique, a kind of conceptual labyrinth, you could say. We're diving into Susanna Clarke's novel, Piranesi. It won awards, got people talking. Critics called it intensely strange, deeply moving. Some even said close to perfect. So we've gathered the analysis, looked into the author's background, the themes everyone's been discussing around this, well, celebrated piece of speculative fiction. Our goal isn't just to recap the plot, which is fascinating in itself. We want to try and quickly unlock that deeper stuff, the emotional side, the philosophy that makes it feel so resonant, almost like a shortcut to thinking about identity or chronic illness, even our relationship with nature.
Okay, so first, you really have to picture the setting. The whole story comes from the journal of the main character, Piranesi. And he lives in this place he just calls the house. But it's not just a house. Imagine this. Vast, maybe infinite structure, thousands upon thousands of marble halls, stairs, big open vestibules. And everywhere, statues. Unique, ancient statues, minotaurs, people, animals.
But it's not static, right? It's not just a big museum. It sounds kind of terrifying, actually.
Oh, absolutely. It's an ecosystem, the upper levels. Clouds, fog. The lower levels are basically an ocean. So the middle part, where Piranesi lives, is constantly hit by these huge tides, dangerous currents. It's definitely hostile.
Yet he sees it as sacred.
Exactly. He calls himself the beloved child of the house. He's incredibly meticulous, charting the tides, mapping the statues, noting the bird nests, even the few skeletons he's found. The only other living person he sees is this guy he calls the other. That's Dr. Valentine Ketterly. He meets him twice a week.
And Carolee tells him the house messes with your memory.
Right. Warns him it erodes memory, personality. And that sets up the mystery. Ketterly hints Piranesi has this forgotten past and warns him about this dangerous new person, someone called 16, who's supposedly coming to hurt them.
Okay, so you've got this intense isolation. Piranesi completely trusts the other. It feels like there's more going on under the surface. You mentioned the author's context.
Yeah, this is really important. The author's timeline is key here. Clarke's huge debut, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, that was 2004. Then there's this massive 16-year gap before Piranesi. And that gap for her was largely defined by struggling with this undiagnosed chronic illness. Later, it was identified as chronic fatigue syndrome, or MECFS.
Wow, 16 years. And the book came out in 2020, smack in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. And it just hit this nerve. Readers dealing with long COVID or any kind of long-term illness, they really connected. People described it like a dispatch from the kingdom of chronic illness.
Like it spoke directly to that feeling of being cut off, marooned from the active world, as one source put it.
The parallels are striking, almost uncanny sometimes. Piranesi's life in the house, his isolation, it really mirrors that deep alienation you can feel with chronic illness, that difficulty in making doctors or even friends and family understand what it's like. And look at his daily routine, that obsessive record keeping, the meticulous record of his surroundings. It's very much like the intense focus an invalid might develop.
What do you mean exactly? The attention of an invalid?
Well, when your world shrinks, when you can't do as much, you start noticing the small things. You slow down. Suddenly, a floating leaf, the exact spot a bird builds its nest. These tiny details become huge, monumental almost, because they're what you can trap, what you can focus on.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. And the sources mention his sense of time is different too, which must resonate with chronic sufferers. He doesn't use dates like we do.
Right, his journal entries have these unique titles, things like The Year I Named the Constellations, or, maybe more revealingly, The Year of Weeping and Wailing.
That warped sense of time, yeah, like living in a state that doesn't fit neatly onto a calendar.
Exactly, it's a core part of that experience. But this framework also shines a light on his relationship with the other. It brings in this theme of medical gaslighting.
Ah, right, because Piranesi trusts Ketterly completely. Ketterly seems knowledgeable, sophisticated, has access to things Piranesi doesn't.
But he's lying, constantly, manipulating Piranesi. And that really echoes the kind of trauma many patients with chronic illnesses describe. They know their pain or fatigue is real, but they get dismissed. Doctors might say, well, lab tests showed nothing abnormal, so it must be psychological.
So Ketterly is basically telling Piranesi he's just confused or going mad instead of acknowledging the reality of what's happened to him.
And precisely, he undermines Piranesi's own experience.
Okay, so the house represents this state of isolation, maybe even gaslighting. How does that connect to the plot's engine, the amnesia? That seems central.
It absolutely is. The way his past is revealed is, well, it's masterfully done. It's psychological fiction at its best. You see Piranesi getting confused. The name Ketterle gave him doesn't feel quite right. He finds words in his own journal like Birmingham or Perugia that mean nothing to him. He knows pages are missing. It's clear he's fractured.
And Piranesi wasn't his original name, was it?
No, not at all. We find out he was actually Matthew Rose Sorensen, a journalist. He was investigating this, frankly, shady occultist figure, Lawrence Arnsale. Arnsales is the old man Piranesi briefly met, the one he called the Prophet.
Okay.
And Ketterle was Arnsale's student. Ketterle basically lured Sorensen into the house using some kind of occult ritual. The process trapped him there, wiped his memory, his identity, and then Ketterle sort of constructed this new personality, Piranesi, who would be trusting and malleable.
Wait, he deliberately caused the amnesia to trap him? That's chilling. Really disturbing. What does that do to a person long term?
Well, the novel really digs into that identity crisis. When Piranesi is eventually rescued by Detective Sarah Raphael, she's the 16, Ketterle warned him about he leaves the house. But he's not Matthew Sorensen anymore. Not fully. And he's not quite the Piranesi who loved the house either. He's someone new, built from pieces of both.
That struggle.
Yeah.
Trying to put those two selves together, the person before the trauma and the person shaped by the trauma, or by the house in this case, that feels like a really powerful metaphor.
It really is. It speaks to that challenge many face after something life-altering, whether it's trauma or, long-term illness, reconciling who you are now with who you used to be.
And does he reject the house entirely then, after being rescued?
That's what's so interesting. No, he doesn't. The narrator at the end, who is this integrated self, they actually see the modern world through the lens of the house. Its wonder kind of extends outward. They think about the statues in the house, saying something like the statue is superior to the thing itself because it's perfect, eternal, unchanging. The appreciation Piranesi learned in that strange place doesn't disappear. It reshapes how they see everything.
That reverence he developed, that seems to lead straight into the philosophical core you mentioned, the contrast between him and Ketterle.
Absolutely. It's really a clash of worldviews. How should we interact with the world, especially the parts that are mysterious or powerful? Ketterle represents this modern drive for exploitation. He wants the great and secret knowledge, but only to use it to gain power. He brings in supplies, ham sandwiches, multivitamins, treating the house like a resource mine. He doesn't respect it for itself.
Right, he wants to conquer it, basically.
Well, Piranesi is the total opposite. He survives by adapting. He fishes, he tracks the tides, gathers seaweed. He sees the house as benevolent, alive. He says the house is valuable because it is the house. It is enough in and of itself. He lives with it, alongside the birds and the statues. He sees them as fellow inhabitants, not just things.
Okay, and the sources link this to philosophy. You mentioned Owen Barfield.
Yes, Barfield's idea is about how human consciousness evolved. Barfield argued that ancient humans had a different way of thinking, a more poetic mode. They experienced the world as inherently meaningful, participatory.
How does that show up in Piranesi's thinking?
Look at how he capitalizes things. The Western Wall, the statue of a gorilla, the house. For him, these aren't just labels. The name is the thing's essence. He lives a world saturated with meaning, with presence. Ketterle, on the other hand, embodies the later shift towards rational, abstract logic, the kind that analyzes, dissects, distances itself from the world to control or use it.
So the modern, purely logical approach, like Ketterle's, is shown as destructive.
Essentially, yes. But it's not saying logic is bad. It's more nuanced. Remember, Piranesi had to lose his logical journalistic self, Matthew Sorensen, through amnesia to rediscover that poetic reverence. The person he becomes at the end, this integrated narrator, is maybe what Barfield hoped for. Someone both ancient and modern. Someone who can use logic and poetry, analysis and reverence. They have Matthew's awareness, but Piranesi's appreciation.
That's a fascinating idea. Before we get to the final takeaways, you mentioned illusions. Little clues Clarke left.
Oh yeah, lots of them. They add layers. The title itself, Piranesi, points directly to Giovanni Battista Piranesi, the 18th century artist. He did these incredible etchings called Carceri d'Invenzione, or imaginary prisons. They show these vast, impossible, inescapable underground vaults with huge staircases, shadows. It immediately sets a mood of sublime, maybe terrifying confinement.
And there were nods to C.S. Lewis, too, surprisingly.
Definitely. Piranesi has a dream about a faun in snow that's straight out of Narnia. And the house itself has features similar to the Wood Between the Worlds in Lewis's books, especially how it seemed to cause amnesia.
Interesting. And the statues everywhere, the idea of being trapped looking at representations, people compared it to Plato's cave.
Right. Plato's allegory of prisoners watching shadows, mistaking them for reality. Piranesi's in this world of perfect statues, representations, perhaps hinting at a greater reality he can't initially access.
All these layers. It's
Yeah.
probably why people debate the meaning so much.
Exactly. It resists being pinned down to one single thing, which leads to that reader discussion you mentioned.
So yeah, what does it all mean? The book leaves things open, doesn't it? Is the house literally real? A fantasy world? Or is it all allegory?
Like an allegory for mental health,
Mhm.
dissociation, maybe dissociative identity disorder, with Detective Raphael as a sort of therapist trying to reintegrate him.
Could be. Or maybe it's simpler, just a story about finding wonder even in bewildering circumstances.
I think the consensus from the analysis is that Clark uses this fantastic setup to explore very real, very human things, but it's explicitly not a straightforward allegory. Each reader might find something different. What seems most important is that journey of acceptance, accepting the past, the trauma, the identity shifts, and finding beauty and value even in the strangeness.
Okay. So if you followed us this far, you've basically navigated this interpretive maze with us. You've seen how the sources connect Piranesi to everything from chronic illness and gaslighting to deep philosophical ideas about how we relate to the world. You've got the keys now to understanding it not just as a mystery novel, but as this profound commentary on memory, identity, and reverence.
And maybe we can leave you with this thought, reflecting on Piranesi's final state. He gets out, but he doesn't just abandon the house. He goes back. He even tends to the remains of Ketterly, the man who was his only friend and his only enemy. He cares for that past. So if experiencing this fantastical, difficult world ultimately taught Piranesi a kind of grace, a way to value things without exploiting them, what halls of pain and bewilderment in your own lives, your own history, those confusing, painful parts might hold some undiscovered beauty or meaning if you chose to approach them with reverence and acceptance instead of just trying to escape.